Welcome to Dear Franny Podcast. Welcome to the start of season 6. This is very exciting to be back. For those of you who've been listening to this podcast for a long time, I thank you so much for your patience with me because I have been MIA, but for good reason. And I hope that you'll agree with me that it's a good reason. So it's September 2024. And I have really been focused this year on writing my book, my very first book. It's called How to Find True Love. I'm so excited for you to read it. It'll be out in March of next year. I'm happy to share more about this whole process of writing a book because it's been very powerful and interesting, and sometimes it's been very overwhelming, but really beautiful. And my whole life changed while I was writing this book in a lot of ways. And I can't even tell you all the ways yet because I don't want to get ahead of myself. And this podcast is not about me. It's about you. But I will say that, my goal in writing this book, and I've known for probably, I think about 7 or 8 years now that I've known that I would write a book. I'd write a book about dating specifically. As my first book, I always wanted it to be about dating. And through the years, I've had multiple times where I've started working on a proposal, and that's part of the process if you want to be published traditionally, which that's what I wanted and that's what I did. And so part of that process is writing a book proposal. And I started and stopped 3 book proposals over the last 7 years. And every time I would just get to this point where I'd say, the world doesn't need this book. This book would be fine. Maybe this book would be good. This book would have really solid advice in it. And it's a book that I could be proud that I wrote it. It would be a well-written book. But one thing that I felt really clearly from the beginning was that I needed to wait until I was writing a book that, number one, only I can write. Number 2, that the world needed. And number 3, that was really going to actually really change people's love lives and trajectories in a positive way. And it took me this long to actually get to the place where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to write this book. And big shout out to my friend Simon Sinek, who many of you probably know because he's written lots of best-selling books and has multiple very viral TED Talks and one of the most watched TED Talks of all time. And he has a podcast called A Bit of Optimism, which I've been on. It's a great show. I recommend it. But anyway, when I met Simon 2022, spring of 2022, he said to me, you need to write a book. And I was like, oh, okay. Simon Sinek is telling me I need to write a book. And well, I know I was going to write a book, but am I ready to write this book? And so I had to go through this, check in with myself of, is it a book only I can write? Is it a book that the world needs? Is it a book that's going to really help a lot of people? And it really took me from that first moment in April of 2022. It took me until the fall of 2023 to write my proposal. Not that I hadn't started, but again, it was just tweaking it and just saying okay, what's the exact layout of this book? How am I approaching this? And it really, it just took a while for it all to click into place. But now that it has, and now that the book is written, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I actually did this, which, feels like a big accomplishment now. But I really think that, it remains to be seen how much this book is going to help people, though I think it's going to help a lot of people. But I definitely feel that it is the book that only I could write. And I definitely feel that it is a book that the world needs. So 2 out of 3, really good. And hope soon to be 3 out of 3. But you'll be hearing lots more about the book coming up. But what I wanted to talk about really in this first episode back, season 6, Dear Franny Podcast, and thank you for your patience with me, but I'm here and I'm here to stay. So that's where we are now. So, subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Follow it, depending on what platform you're on, because there are going to be a lot more episodes coming. But this first episode, I wanted to talk just briefly about authenticity, because something that I'm hearing a lot of or seeing a lot of in just social media and just the dating ether zeitgeist right now is, there's two things. One is there's just a lot of frustration with the state of modern dating, which is not surprising given that dating apps have taken so much of people's romantic agency away from them. And so you feel like you've got to be on a dating app in order to date. And that gives the apps too much power. And the apps aren't designed for you to be successful in love. The apps are designed to profit from your search for love. And then everything else, the pandemic and the mental health crisis and polarization and digital addiction and anxiety, depression. There's a lot going on in this world. Which is not to say this is all doom and gloom, because I actually think that, and this gets to the part that I really want to talk about today, which is the good news is that we can no longer kind of just half-ass this love and relationship thing. We can't just think it's all going to be on autopilot. We can't keep telling ourselves that romantic love is this magical fantasy that's going to come in and save you and give you all of the fulfillment and all of the joy and all of the love that you've been seeking your whole life, because that is simultaneously diminishing the power of love in relationships, because that's the power of love in relationships is about your growth. It's about learning that love is a verb and choosing love and knowing what that looks like, knowing what it looks like to choose love for yourself, for your partner, and to grow along this lifelong love journey that you're on. So when we think that love is supposed to be this just super simple, easy thing, and it just happens and everything just magically works out, it's like you're missing the point. And we have been culturally, collectively missing the point of relationships for a really long time. And the fact that things have gotten so extreme in the world is, on the one hand, that can feel very upsetting or concerning. And of course it is in many ways. However, the silver lining of it is like, now it's time to cut the fluff and the noise and the chaos and actually get to the heart and the power of love. And everyone really needs to start experiencing this power of love and this abundance of love for themselves. And the more we are able to do that for ourselves, the more that is going to ripple and radiate out throughout the world. So if we want a better world, we really do have to start with understanding that this is a world that's very much rooted in fear, and the opposite of fear is love. And love is actually much more powerful, and we can choose love. But if we are so entrenched in fear, we don't know how to do that. So I know I'm talking a little existentially, but that's on a societal level. But the same thing applies on an individual level. So your personal dating journey, which is merely a phase, it is merely and when I don't say merely to diminish it, I say that every part of your life, you're on a different stage of your love journey. Whether you're understanding what love is, and you're young and you're being programmed in what it means to be a loving human on the planet and what relationships are supposed to look like, that's a phase of your love journey. Once you start dating and having relationships, that's a phase of your love journey. When you have a breakup, you're in a new phase. When you're in a committed partnership, that's a different phase. When you have another breakup, it just keeps going and going and going. Whether you're with your partner for 60 years or 6 months or 6 days, or you've never been in a committed relationship, you are still on your love journey. right? So it's not something that we, opt in and out of. It's just if you're alive, you're on a love journey, whether you're embracing it as such or not. And when you understand that it's a journey, and the purpose of journeys, they're not to be predictable, they're not to be certain, they're not for you to know that I'm going to have exactly this experience, is exactly this outcome, and I can predict how every single thing is going to happen, and I can control every single thing that's going to happen. That is not how life works. That is not how love works. And when you're in the dating phase of your love journey, and you are being intentional about, okay, I'm ready to actually have a partnership, or I'm ready to get ready. Maybe you're not quite ready yet, but you're warming up to the idea. It just serves you so well to embrace it as a journey, and not to think that you've got to just get through dating as quickly as possible and get into a relationship and just stay there as long as possible, and that is success. That is the old way of thinking. That is the old paradigm, which brings me back to everything I was saying about how we see all of these things in the world are starting to shift dramatically. And for us to think that with all the complexity of the world, that somehow we still think that dating is supposed to be simple, it's like we're losing the thread, right, of what's really going on here. And I think a really maybe tangible way to start here, because I really want you to think about, what is your orientation in this whole journey that you're on? So are you coming from a place of fear? Are you really rooted in the fear of you're never going to meet someone, or if you do meet somebody, it's not going to work out, or you're going to choose the wrong person, or you're never going to be chosen, or you're going to be rejected, or all of the fears that are very normal on this love journey? Still, if you are very rooted in that fear, all the good ones are taken, if you date men, all men are terrible. If you date women, all women are terrible. No matter who you date, it's just, if you're in that place of really being more rooted in the fear of what you don't want than you are in the love and the light and the inspiration of what you do want, then this journey is just going to be hard. It's going to be. So the only way to start to make things easier for yourself on your journey, on your love journey, is to really check in and start telling yourself the truth of whether or not you are doing the work that you need to do to start choosing love. So dating from a place of love versus dating from a place of fear. And the point here is not that we don't have to be afraid of fear, right? Like, fear is normal. The point is not that you can't have any fears, but if fear is the primary thing and the energy that you are existing in when it comes to your love journey, you are going to manifest the results of that fear. Versus if you are making the effort, because it does take an effort. It starts with an intention to stay rooted in love, and then it really requires the work of understanding what that looks like for you, and to understand what are the ways in which you are currently not being loving towards yourself, towards others, towards this journey that you're on, and starting to shift that and reframe that and recognize your power to choose love, even in the toxic mess of modern dating. And in fact, that's the only way that you're going to do this and ensure that you're successful at it, is by transcending all of the toxicity, and like actually coming from a place of love, which is just going to take you to a higher plane of operation. It's going to take you to a higher plane of magnetism. It's going to take you to a higher plane of serendipity and luck and coincidence and being in the right place at the right time and meeting the person who is going to change your life in a really good way. Like, we have to start being very intentional about choosing that perspective, rather than, there's like maybe one person in this whole world who's going to meet my criteria and it's going to take a miracle for me to meet them. If two people who otherwise are the same even though they won't be the same because these are fundamental ways of looking at the world. But, demographically speaking, right, we could look on the outside and say they'd be in the same lineup, as I like to put it, right? They meet the same general description, but one of them is very rooted in fear of how it's not going to work out and scarcity and all of that as they date. And one is rooted in a real intention to choose to see the abundance of love, to access that abundance of love within themselves, to date from a place of love in everything from their relationship with their self to who they're choosing, how they're choosing them, what is the level of boundaries, of communication, of knowing your worthiness, of being able to balance being engaged with the process, but not being so controlling and attached to the outcome that now you're trying to, as my friend Angela says, you're trying to be the law of attraction. You're trying to control every aspect of it. You're trying to predict. You're getting stuck in the fear and the impatience and all of that. It takes an effort not to do that. But if you have two people and one of them is doing that and one of them isn't, who do you think is going to have a better time meeting someone? Who do you think is going to enjoy their journey? Who do you think is going to get into a better relationship? And I can tell you, it's going to be the person who is doing the work to stay grounded in that place of love. It just makes sense. If you're in a place of scarcity and that fear is driving you, then are you going to approach meeting someone with this sense of possibility, with this sense of trust that, well, if it's not this person, it's another person. So I can just be myself. I can just be present. I can just get to know this person, see if I like them, see if they like me, see what we're able to co-create together, and just trust that if this person is right for me, that's going to be really obvious really soon. And if not, then it just means that there's someone else and I can move on. Right? And I know that might sound like a very Pollyanna way to approach dating, but I can also tell you that that's possible for you. Like, that is available to you. And so the point, like I said before, it's not that you never have fear, you never have insecurity, you never have worry, but are you able to choose to at least set that intention to find that place of calm and of peace and of acceptance and of flow on your love journey versus staying at a place of trying to control everything and predict everything and, just being stuck in that energy, and to see the difference for yourself. Even if you can have a moment of maybe, okay, I'm going to put this fear down for a moment and just see, what if I embrace possibility? Hey, I've done it this way for a really long time. How about setting an intention to have more trust and to have more faith, to see more perspective of everything that I've been through on my journey and learn the lessons that my patterns are there to teach me. I mean, your patterns are not here to torture you. They're here for you to learn something so that you can progress to the next level, right? To the next phase of this love journey. So embracing that perspective serves you so much. Imagine if everyone in the world saw themselves as responsible for their own actions and for their own growth in romantic relationships. Imagine if we all felt that way. The world would look very different. Relationships would look very different. But even if the whole wide world can't manifest that right now, you can manifest that. You can manifest that for yourself. And you are who I am recording this podcast for, because I want you to have this reminder that you are not at the mercy of the societal circumstances of modern dating, and that actually love is infinitely abundant in the universe, and that, the universe, God, spirit, whatever, it did not torture you by putting within you this desire to have connection and intimacy with another person only for it to be impossible for you. Of course it is possible. So the work becomes, okay, how can I align myself? How can I progress to the place on my love journey where I'm able to see that possibility, feel that possibility, be attracted to healthy relationship dynamics, feel worthy of receiving love and consistency. I mean, there's a lot of layers here, and we don't have to be perfect, thank God, right? There's no perfection required. Love is the perfection, but there is personal responsibility required in this age of dating and the world that we live in. So the personal responsibility is not to beat yourself up and to judge yourself and to shame yourself. It is to do the opposite. It's to start loving yourself enough so that you can see the larger purpose, you can see the larger journey, and you can start making choices that are in alignment with what you want versus a reaction to what you don't want. Because that shift is so, so powerful. And that is how you make true love happen. So that was a lot. And I actually didn't really talk about what I wanted to, but I'm going to talk about it next episode. So just stay tuned. And to hold myself accountable, I want to talk about in the next episode, authenticity. And I'll just give you a little teaser because what I was starting to say in this episode, and I kind of went on a tangent, but I think that was important. So I'm glad I went there. So I went with where my intuition was leading me. But there's so much talk about compatibility, right? And people are trying to find these simple solutions. How do I know that somebody is the right person for me? I don't want to go through the trial and error anymore. I don't want to pick the wrong person anymore. I want to have something really concrete to hold on to so I can figure out how to navigate this journey. And so I think that that's what's driving this need for certainty in this conversation around compatibility that I'm really hearing a lot these days. But the best way to know if you're compatible with another person is to be your authentic self. Because if you are showing up as your authentic self, not how you think they want you to be or not how you think you should be, and you're not thinking, oh, well, I date this gender person and this gender person likes this, so I'm going to lead with that and I'm going to tell them this and I'm not going to tell them that. And I'm going to, like, all of this, it's very natural when you're coming from a place of like more fear and more scarcity that you're going to kind of always be kind of adjusting yourself in some way to make yourself more palatable. But if you're actually showing up as your true authentic self, who you get along with, who's drawn to you, who you're drawn to, that becomes easy. That's why even, a lot of times when you might get to know someone in a situation like you work together or you go to school together and it's not somebody who you have any initial romantic interest in. So you're just showing up as yourself. And then before you know it, because you're both being yourselves, you might have discovered like, oh, wow, actually now I'm attracted to this person. Now we have a romantic connection or a physical connection or an intimate connection, or just a really deep connection. Doesn't have to be romantic. And how does that happen? It happens because you were just both showing up as yourselves without all the filters, literally the filters that we put on photos. I actually really don't use filters. I try not to, on purpose, because I'm trying to not, I want to remember what I look like and not feel like I've got to look like what Instagram says I need to look like, So anyway, that's another subject. But, but when it comes to authenticity though, that's a word that we give a lot of lip service to, be your authentic self. And so what I want to talk about next week is what that actually means, because there's more than one layer to authenticity. And I think that is something that is missing from the conversation a lot of the time when I hear people talk about it. Like being your authentic self isn't just like keeping it 100. It's not just saying everything that's on your mind. It's not just not having a filter. That's not what authenticity is. It could be part of it, but like I said, there's some different layers to it. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. And side note, I am recording a video of this right now, and which is very awkward to do. And I'm not camera ready. I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm not in the best lighting situation. So who knows if this video is ever going to see the light of day. But if it does, be kind. All right. So thank you for listening. And, again, I want to just encourage you to subscribe to this podcast, follow this podcast. Please share this podcast if you found it useful. Please share it on social media, share it with your friends, share it with your family members, and tag me. I'm at Dear Franny. I would love to see your shares and hear your reactions. I just thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day and week wherever you are in the world. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to tell you more about my book, How to Find True Love. I mean, you're going to be sick of hearing about it, but I got to do it. I mean, I spent all this time and all these years like preparing to write this book and actually writing this book. And I'm not going to be quiet about it now. So thank you in advance for your support and cooperation. All right. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye-bye. I will talk to you soon.